Hello everyone, and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Remy had always understood that secrets in Los Angeles were like smog, thick, sticky, and impossible to escape once they settled over the hills. She grew up in the shadow of Forrester Creations, where her mother, a seamstress with quick fingers and a mouth that never quite closed on the proper words, made gowns for women who could buy and sell her life 100 times over. Remy believed she had escaped that society by becoming a private investigator who specialized in paternity issues. Irony, she assumed, was the city's native language. The call arrived on a Tuesday that smelled like jacaranda and pollution. Deke, 23 and lanky, with a mop of dark hair that defied gravity and eyes the color of stormlit jade, sat across from her in the tiny office above a vegan donut shop in Echo Park. He shoved a manila packet over the desk, as if it were radioactive. "I need to know who my father is," he told me. His voice cracked on the final phrase, like it does when a teenager tries not to cry in front of strangers. "My mother won't tell me. She simply claims he's gone and that I'm better off." Remy accepted the envelope. Inside is a birth certificate with the father's name erased, a lock of baby hair in a plastic bag, and a snapshot of a woman with Deke's sharp cheekbones cradling a newborn wrapped in a hospital blanket. The woman's smile was exhausted but ferocious, as if she would fight the world with her teeth to protect her son. "What is your mother's name?" "Lila Shaw," Remy asked. Deke nodded. "She used to model. Back in the 90s. Then she quit. They said the industry chewed her up." Remy's stomach dropped. She knew the name. Lila Shaw had been a Forrester inspiration for one scorching season, tall, raven-haired, and with a saunter that made photographers forget their own names. Then she disappeared. Rumors circulated that she had gotten pregnant by someone influential. Someone got married. Someone paid her to disappear. "I'll take the case," Remy replied. "But Deke, whatever we find, it might not be pretty." He flashed her a look of appreciation and horror. "I just want the truth." As Remy watched him leave, she realized that truth was a luxury in this city. And someone always paid retail. She began with the easy stuff. Hospital records, DMV, and voter registration. Lila Shaw had kept her nose clean since leaving Los Angeles, a little house in Ojai, a job teaching yoga to retirees, and a Facebook profile with privacy settings tighter than a debutante's corset. The birth certificate showed Cedars-Sinai as the delivery location, although the attending physician had retired to New Mexico and was no longer answering calls. Remy's breakthrough came from an unlikely source, Gloria, a retired nurse who sells essential oils at the Hollywood Farmers Market. Gloria remembered Lila. "I remembered the private room. I remembered the man who arrived at 2 a.m. He twisted his wedding ring while he wore a Dodgers cap, pulled low. Dark hair," Gloria commented, sniffing a bottle of lavender. "An expensive cologne. Voice is like velvet over gravel. He brought roses. Red ones. They said they were for strength." Remy's pulse accelerated. "Did he sign the visitor's log?" Gloria's eyes narrowed. "Honey, men like that don't sign anything." However, Gloria had retained a souvenir. A Polaroid slipped into her locker the night Lila checked out. In it, Lila cuddled the infant while the man leaned over them, his face partially obscured. Remy zoomed in on her phone. The jawbone. The watch. She had seen the signet ring with a crest on 1,000 magazine covers. Ridge Forrester. Her hands shook so much that she nearly dropped the phone. It made 6 cents. Ridge, perpetual heartthrob, serial husband, walking midlife crisis, was married to Brooke Logan at the time. Their on-again, off-again storyline was soap opera gold. A secret child would have been devastating. Lila, who was young and ambitious, could have been easily silenced with a check and a non-disclosure agreement thicker than the LA telephone book. Remy spent the following week pursuing ghosts. She tracked down the lawyer who had handled the payout, now disbarred and living in a studio apartment smelling of sorrow and menthol cigarettes. He verified the deal but declined to name anyone. "Statute of limitations on shame ran out years ago," he said with a cough. But some dogs still bite. She located Lila's former agent, a woman named Marla, who now runs a dog shelter in the valley. Remy showed Marla a photo of Deke, which made her cry. "He looks just like his father," she said quietly. "God help him." The DNA confirmation felt almost anticlimactic. Remy bribed a lab technician with Dodgers tickets and promised not to raise questions. The results came back as 99.99% match. Rich Forrester was Deke's biological father. Remy sat in her car outside the Forrester mansion in Bel Air, with the report burning a hole in the passenger seat. The gates were wrought iron, taller than her courage. She imagined Ridge inside, tan with silver temples, drinking scotch as Brooke redecorated the guest wing for the third time this year. Did he even remember Lila? Did he realize he had a son who played guitar in Silver Lake dive bars and couldn't afford rent? She drove to Ojai instead. Remy found Lila in her yard, crouched among tomato plants, her hair braided with silver. She did not seem shocked to see Remy, just exhausted. "He found you," Lila explained. "It was not a question. He deserves to know." Lila stood up, brushing dirt from her knees. "Do you think the truth is a gift? Remy, this is a blade. And blades cut both ways." They sat on the porch as the light faded over the hills. Lila told the narrative in fragments, the whirlwind romance, the promises, and the moment Ridge chose his heritage over her. The check that covered Deke's braces and Lila's silence. She'd lie awake at night, wondering if her son would be angry with her for lying. "I named him Deke because it was the one thing Ridge couldn't take," she told me. "This is his grandfather's name." Remy's throat hurt. "He is a good kid, Lila. Smart. Kind. He only wants to know where he's from." Lila chuckled, making a sound similar to cracking glass. "He comes from me. That's sufficient." But it wasn't. Remy could see it in Deke's eyes every time he inquired about his father. A need for a face, a name, and an explanation for why his mother's smile never reached her eyes. She scheduled the meeting at a neutral location, the Griffith Observatory at nightfall, when the city lights flashed like a million shameful secrets. Deke arrived first, exuding the same tense energy he'd had in her office. Ridge was late. Of course he was. When he eventually emerged, walking across the parking lot in a linen shirt and sunglasses as if auditioning for his own life, Remy felt Deke tense behind her. "Is that him?" Deke whispered. Remy nodded. Ridge removed his sunglasses. His eyes, the legendary bedroom eyes, were bloodshot. He appeared older than the tabloids permitted. "Smaller." "Deke," he muttered, the words sounding odd in his mouth. "Your investigator said you wanted to meet." Deke laughed sharply. "My investigator?" "Right. Because this is just another business transaction." Ridge flinched. "I know I've handled this badly. You don't know the half of it." Deke's voice trembled again. "Do you even remember her? My mom? Was she just another notch on your fancy belt?" Ridge opened his mouth, then closed it. Remy looked at her as if she could help him. She did not. "I was married," Ridge finally said. "Brooke was pregnant with R.J. The timing was ideal for you," Deke exclaimed. "It's simple to pay her off and forget." "Did you ask her what she named me?" Ridge's face wrinkled. "I asked. She refused to tell me." "Because she knew you'd attempt to purchase me too," Deke was now shouting, eliciting looks from tourists. "Do you believe that money can heal everything? Do you think a trust fund compensates for 23 years of nothing?" Remy put his hand on Deke's arm. He was shaking. Ridge dipped into his pocket and drew out an envelope. This time, the Forrester logo is stamped on thick cream material rather than manila. "This is for you. College. A house. Whatever you need." Deke looked at it as if it were poison. "I don't want your blood money." "It's not," Ridge paused. "That's not enough. I am aware of this. But it's a start." Deke grabbed the envelope and tore it in half. The bits flew to the earth like dying moths. "All I wanted was a dad. You were never going to give me that." He walked away. Ridge called after him, but Deke would not turn around. Remy watched him fade into the observatory crowds, shoulders bowed against a grief too great for his frame. Ridge took up the torn pieces. "I should have fought harder," he said gently. For both of them, Remy wanted to despise him. It could have been easier. But she noticed the quiver in his hands and the way he stared at the spot where Deke had been, as if it were a tomb. "You still can," she said. He shakes his head. Some doors once closed. The ride back to Ojai was quiet. Lila was waiting on the porch again, a glass of wine unfinished beside her. Deke walked directly to his boyhood bedroom and closed the door. Remy sat with Lila until the stars emerged. "He'll come around," Remy suggested. Lila shakes her head. "He will forgive me. Eventually." "What about Ridge? That wound won't heal." 3 weeks later, Deke arrived at Remy's office with a duffel bag and a bus ticket to Portland. "I need to get out of the city," he replied. "Start over where nobody knows my last name isn't really mine." Remy wanted to disagree, but she understood. Some truths were too hefty to hold in their birthplace. She hugged him goodbye. "You're not your father's son," she explained. "You're Lila's. That's the important thing." He nodded against her shoulder, and for the first time, she sensed him believing it. Months have passed. Remy handled fewer cases. The Forster file remained locked in her desk drawer, a reminder that some riddles had no results. Then, one rainy afternoon, an envelope arrived with no return address, just her name in handwriting she recognized from hospital visitor logs from 23 years prior. There is a photograph within. Deke on stage in a Portland club, guitar slung low, eyes closed with concentration. Ridge wrote on the back in his exquisite scribble, "He is your mother's fire. Tell Lila you're proud. Tell him I apologize. Tell them that I'm learning to be better one day at a time." Remy placed the photograph into the file. Some stories did not have a satisfying conclusion. They concluded with the arduous, agonizing process of becoming human. Outside, the jacarandas were blooming again, purple against the gray sky. Remy locked her office and walked outside, allowing the rain to wash the city's secrets away from her. A child in the north was learning how to play his own music. Somewhere south, a mother was planting tomatoes for a garden that her kid would never see. And somewhere in Bel Air, a guy was staring at a shredded envelope, attempting to piece together a parent he had never known how to be. Remy paced the carpeted hallway of the old family manor, his pulse racing with each muffled stride. He'd been abruptly summoned to this area, which he'd always avoided, a place haunted by ghosts of long-buried secrets. The home, made of dark wood and towering ceilings, appeared to breathe around him. Stagnant air, closed windows against the growing nightfall. Behind one of these closed doors was the truth he feared the most. Earlier that day, Deke, Remy's partner and man of steady calm and soft strength, had quietly requested a meeting. "I told Remy, we need to talk." And here he was. 2 knocks on the oak door. One for courage and one for resignation. The door opened. Deke stood there, pale in the lantern light, his features etched with a mix of remorse and dread. "Are you ready?" he asked. Remy gulped. "As I'll ever be." They entered a study filled with leather-bound books and dusty photo albums. A single bulb flickered on a massive desk, casting shadows throughout the room. Deke shut the door behind them and stood near the window. He drew a breath and did not exhale. "It's about time you knew," he said. "About who my father truly is." Remy nodded, but his throat felt dry. "Okay." Deke's gaze averted. "My biological father, the man I thought I knew, the one I believed in, is not the man I claimed him to be." Remy's thoughts began to race. He knew Deke's past was convoluted, full of half-answers and hazy memories. But he had not expected what happened next. Deke opened a folder on the desk and took out a photo. It depicted a middle-aged man standing in front of a boardroom sign, stern-faced and dressed formally. Richard Rick Malvern's name appeared beneath it. Remy leaned forwards. He recognized the name. Not someone celebrated, but someone with quiet ambitions and corporate shadows. "Rick Malvern," Remy answered. Deke nodded. "He's my biological father." Remy's heart stopped. The realization hit me like a ton of cold water. Deke's father was always described as someone else, a kind, late-70s guy who reared him and addressed him as son. But Deke's voice shook as he confessed. That man, the one who raised me, wasn't my father, Deke explained. Rick Malvern is. Remy let the snapshot slip between his fingers. His thoughts raced. What did that mean? How did Deke find out? What was constructed on lies? The revelation was repeated in the study. The quiet thundered.
Deke swallowed again.
He is not a person you should trust. He made his fortune through covert deals, shell businesses, and manipulating people. I've just found a portion of it, but enough to know I don't want to be a part of his world. Remy's chest clenched. He glanced at Deke, the guy he loved and vowed to protect, who was now trembling. He stretched out to cover Deke's hand with his own. I'm here, he muttered. Deke gazed down at their linked hands. I understand. But this alters things. For both of us. Remy's thoughts drifted to things he'd done in the past, faults he sought to forget. He wondered if Deke could still believe in him. Can he stand by this revelation? Deke slid open one more folder. Papers fell out. Corporation invoices, letters addressed to Rick Malvern, and a check number with Deke's name as beneficiary. There were emails from Deke's account, and signed contracts and aliases. Remy just stared. The evidence was irrefutable. Rick Malvern had been utilizing, or at least related to, Deke in ways he was unaware of. Deke dropped his voice. I confronted him today. He admitted I was his son, but he said I was simply beneficial to him in increasing his influence. He asked me to join him in a new venture. I refused. Remy processed the betrayal. Deke's cherished father figure had traded sincerity for power. And Deke's father, whom he never knew, lived in denial and sought control. But then Deke's confession grew deeper. I found our birth certificates. I found the hospital records. The adoption papers were faked. Everything was covered up. His voice cracked. The man I call Dad found out. He died last year. I couldn't attend his funeral because I didn't know the truth. Remy's eyes blurred. He drew Deke close, feeling the tension in his lover's shoulders. You did what you had to do to survive, Remy remarked softly. Deke nodded against him. But now I have to decide, do I cut him out altogether, even if he is my biological father? Or should I stay and battle against him from within? He took a step back and began to pace. And more, you're a part of this. Because you adore me. When I confront him, you'll be in his crosshairs. Remy straightened his shoulders. Deke breathed. Tell me what I have to do. We'll leave here. Tonight. I replaced the locks. I ordered new security. But I also want to expose him. His gaze sharpened. Rick Malvern has harmed people. Innocent individuals. People I care about. He regarded me like a commodity. That's it now. Remy's heart beat. He remembered Malvern Enterprises, a towering structure in the heart of downtown. He reflected on Deke's career, ambitions of designer lines, pride, and love. He recognized they were up against a formidable man, a father by blood, but an enemy by choice. They pack a duffel bag silently. The house felt suffocating, like if the walls were listening. At midnight, they sneaked out the rear entrance and into a waiting automobile. Behind them, the manor's lights darkened. They are about to face uncertainty. A week later, Remy and Deke sat in a small leased office, high above the city lights. A laptop flashed on the table, displaying a news website with the banner, Evidence Leaks, Malvern Enterprises under investigation. Deke's fingers hovered over the send button. Remy maintained a steady gaze at him. He had no doubts. Deke pressed send. Files were delivered to a secure news organization's email. Names, dates, and contracts, the facts. They waited as the monitor refreshed and said, Files received. Journalists are investigating. Remy leaned back. Are you all right? Deke nodded. I am terrified. But I have never felt more alive. Then the storm hit. Someone shattered the glass in Deke's former apartment the following morning. A black SUV sat idling across the street. Cameras captured it. News vans crowded. Malvern's press team described the leak as a betrayal by an insider motivated by revenge, and the media portrayed Deke as the whistleblower. Some cheered for him. Others feared retaliation. Remy cornered Deke among the chaos. We're okay for now, but we need a backup plan. Deke peered out into the street, where reporters were shouting questions into the night. Yes. We need that, he said quietly but firmly. Malvern Enterprises responded by threatening legal action, lawyers, gag orders, and non-disclosure agreements. Rick Malvern himself came on television, calmly claiming father pride while swearing to uncover the mole. Deke watched, pallid but determined. Remy cornered Deke among the chaos. We're okay for now, but we need a backup plan. Deke peered out into the street, where reporters were shouting questions into the night. Yes. We need that, he said quietly but firmly. Malvern Enterprises responded by threatening legal action, lawyers, gag orders, and non-disclosure agreements. Rick Malvern himself came on television, calmly claiming father pride while swearing to uncover the mole. Deke watched, pallid but determined. Remy held him when the deluge hit. Anonymous notes were mailed to their apartment, car tires were slashed, and a shadowy figure followed them up the stairwell. Remy awoke each night to Deke's shakes. He'd put his arms around him and murmur, "I've got you." One evening, Deke summoned the strength to speak. "I never wanted this life of secrecy. I simply wanted us to create something genuine." He leaned across the table where they sat, his coffee growing cold. Remy took his hand. "We still can. We have each other. And now we know the truth." Despite the anxiety, hope shone. Remy followed Deke to his meeting with a respected investigative journalist. They handed over boxes of paperwork and explained what they knew. They spoke about trust, identity, and manipulation. They spoke of a man who claimed paternity, but merely offered deals. They mentioned the father figure who raised Deke, who died believing the deception. And they talked about love between two men who choose to stand up for honesty.